orchestrated, and our government knew about it. And in some cases, like the first World Trade Center, they furnished the explosives and the training for these guys. And so it's all orchestrated, and it's going to be more terrorism, because the easiest way to get the American people to not just beg for martial law, but demand it of their officials. When they're scared enough, they'll give up everything to be made safe.
Are we looking at the Nazization of the nation?
That's what we are. Yeah, it's not a socialist system as much as a fascist system is being carried through by our Republican socialists and democratic socialists, or fascists if you want to say. But it is a fascist system. 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 It is a fascist system.
"9/11 was an inside job. Millions of people throughout the earth know that. The engineers, the scientists, the architects, and yours truly. It's not a matter of a question. It is with absolute fact that I state that 9/11 was an inside job. My friend Ted L. Gunderson, the former head of the FBI in Los Angeles, Dallas, and Memphis, stated, yes, it was an inside job. When did we say that? When the tower was first hit in 1993. We were talking about it on a television show. We said the FBI would be coming back to do it again. I said, oh, they did it? Well, those who controlled the FBI did it. Sheikh Omar Abdul Rahman, the blind cleric, you know him from Time magazine. He was tagged with having done the job. He got to the United States. He got a visa. He was given entree into the United States. The number one man, the number one suspect in the assassination of Anwar Sadat. He got to the United States along with his entire terrorist group, courtesy of the State Department. They got here, they were infiltrated by the FBI. John Antisef, working for the FBI, recruited a retired Egyptian army officer named Ahmad Salem. Ahmad Salem was asked to infiltrate the group. He did. He had a little thing on his lapel. He was wired. What happened? John Antisef, the man in charge of the FBI, said, well, can you get them to do a job? You know, we want this thing to look real. He said, well, he's going to try. He came back, he said, listen, they'll do the job. They'll take on the World Trade Center. Obviously somebody was behind him. And who was behind him? Who was behind the door? Could it have been the Zionazis? Who else has that power? But we haven't really defined them yet clearly. So how was this thing done? Ahmad Salem started to make the arrangements to do this setup. He came back and said, well, we've got them to do the job. They'll do the job, but they don't know how to make the bomb. He said, well, you know how to make a bomb? Make the bomb. It was then when Ahmad Salem thought he had better record the FBI, which he did. He recorded the FBI, and when they were saying that, go, let's make a bomb, guess who paid for it? You paid for the bomb. The 1993 bomb, which went in. The U.S. taxpayers paid for the bomb to go into the building to trigger the event, which costs nearly $500 million, and left about 5 or 6 people dead. But that wasn't enough. Wasn't enough to satisfy whoever was behind the door. So unfortunately for Ahmad Salem, when this came to trial, and he figured it would do just that because they were going to try to set him up, he brought it out before the trial that the FBI had this set up as a sting. Well, not really, because when Ahmad Salem had asked John Antisef with the FBI, he said, "Whoa, wait a minute. He said, this isn't going to be the real thing, is it? You're not going to put the real, oh no, we got to make this thing look legitimate. We got to make this thing look like it's for real." When the explosion happened, a vehicle had been parked next to the column which held up the building. As a consequence, it didn't take it out. So that was upsetting. And Ted Gunderson and I had talked about this on a television show in 1995. That was at the time they did who's ever behind the door, did the Oklahoma job. The Oklahoma job was set up. Was it Lee Harvey Oswald? No, he was already dead. Was it Lee Harvey McVeigh? Oh, the same character, different body, same group of people doing the same thing. Again, who's behind the door? The hoax of the 20th century. We have somebody operating behind the scenes. Oh, Ahmad Salem did not go to jail. The event was written about in the New York Times, way in the back so nobody would really pay any attention. So we know with absolute certainty that the FBI paid for the event in 1993. Somebody was ruling the FBI. Somebody with tremendous amounts of money coming from organizations like the Federal Reserve. And you remember the Federal Reserve had a first chairman, Paul Warburg. We hear the screams. Ted Gunderson and I were talking about this. We said that they would do it again. That they would come back to the World Trade Center. Try it again. And they did. 9/11, the greatest lie ever sold. Ted and I did a film on it. The first one, Illuminazi 9/11, was the first ever. We started that night on 9/11. Ted called me from Las Vegas and said, "They've done it." I said, "No." He says, "Well, you got to get on it." I said, "I already am. We're in the edit room. We're taking things off the television. We're putting them into the tape. As it was going on, we were doing it." It was released around Halloween. Now, I took a look at a program, the Project for a New American Century. And in the Project for a New American Century, they said that to create what is necessary to make this radical change is that there would have to be another event, another Holocaust to occur to get the American people to give up their freedoms and accept the unacceptable. Another attempt to create an event like Pearl Harbor.
December 7th, 1941, a day of infamy. Even as Japanese diplomats were conferring with Secretary of State Hull on peace measures, Nipponese planes were swooping down on Pearl Harbor. Within hours, the United States declared war. The attack on Pearl Harbor united Americans as never before in history. In the explosions at Pearl Harbor, there was forged the will for complete and absolute victory over the forces of evil.
The neo-Nazis, which are loaded with the Zionazi element, was behind it. They stated it before it occurred that that something like this was going to happen. The Project for a New American Century. my guess is that if we looked just deep enough and opened that door, that we would find the Zionazis. What's your guess that we would find the same culprits, the same group, the same organization, the same players?
No question. We're ruled by a power behind the scenes, which we're calling the Zionazis, and might call them the Zia-Illuminazis. And we're trying to define this group more precisely.
We were talking about them 6 years before the event. 6 years before. 6 years before the World Trade Center went down. Ted and I were talking about it. Dr. Ed Spencer had already underwritten my good friend, Eustace Mullins. Eustace knew something of this nature was going to happen. It was an event like another Pearl Harbor. It's written, it's validated, it occurred. Was the Mossad involved? There was a group of agents from Israel that were on a hill cheering when the towers were hit and went down. Oh, they left the United States. Nobody asked her, nobody talked about that, because the Warren Commission, well, no, that wasn't the Warren Commission, was it? That was a cover-up. But the other commission, the 9/11 Commission,
That was a cover-up.
the 9/11 Commission, that was a cover-up. Oh, but they said everything is going to be all right. We're going to get down to the bottom of this. We're going to appoint Henry Kissinger. He is the man. Oh, man. Henry Kissinger. The man who says that military men are dumb, stupid animals. You think that military intelligence would have been assigned the job of finding out what happened? They came out and said, this is a bunch of camel jockeys, some guys from the Mideast. In fact, even a war was declared. No, a war wasn't declared. Was there a war declared on Iraq?
No,
It wasn't.
I don't believe there was.
But there was an invasion of Iraq,
Yes, and I think that was prepared well in advance.
well in advance. But they took the hit. The American people paid the money. Your brothers and sisters were killed. 1.5 million Iraqis died. There's still a war going on 10 years later. And who's to blame? I'm going to tell you who's to blame. You. Think I'm going to blame you for that war? The acceptance of your ignorance, the acceptance of your apathy, This was an inside job. Is this an inside job?
Yes, it's an inside job,
No question.
and the people are apathetic and won't dig in and find the facts.
Now, if you were successful, if you were happened to be successful in tracing this group back, maps of the ancient sea kings. Somebody said that these people who were, so we're talking about the Zionazis, or at least the Khazars or the Ashkenazis, that they emanated from the South Pole or something like that, and there were maps and all sorts of things that would indicate that somebody knew the configuration of the land in the South Pole. They had maps. That was before the ice got on there. And is this validated in the maps of the ancient sea kings?
Yes, that's an excellent book, and I recommend that serious students of what is happening to us get that book. In fact, I recommend that serious students get all of these books, because books are good. You can read them, go back, you can put the whole thing together and see what somebody was thinking. You can analyze it over time.
But if we were to do an investigation, if we were to ask people to look at some of these books and say we're anti-Jewish,
Well,
I don't think so, because I don't think they're Jews. I mean, the people who are behind the door. I don't even think they were Semitic. But I do know one thing, they're criminal. I do know one thing for absolute certain, and that is that 9/11 was an inside job, and that the neo-Nazis, I'm talking about those guys in Washington, D.C., written the project for a new American century, saying that perhaps another Pearl Harbor was necessary. Are we going to continue on this investigation, or are we going to let it drop?
well, I'm going to certainly try to continue, and I'm going to ask people out there to help, to get involved, to study, and to contact their friends about this. We have to work together because the amount of information is massive, and it's also covered up. What we know is that books disappear, ideas disappear, that when you have a hot lead and you want to get some money from the academic world to study it, you can't if it's something that the people behind the door don't want you to look at.
Dr. Spencer, I doubt very seriously whether the big boys will ever allow a single solitary cent to come into this project, to underwrite this film, to underwrite who's behind the door.
To underwrite this film, we'll be lucky if they don't send a bullet our way.
Well, the more information that comes out, and that information is going to come out by you, and you can go to our websites, you can take a look at the film, you can take a look at the beginning of an investigation that will, when successful, change the course of history, the history of mankind. Is this important, or should we simply shove it back under the rug? Should we say, don't say a word? Should we be like the monkeys? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. It's up to you. You can go to our websites, freeworldalliance.com, commoncrime.net, aircrap.org. You can go to a multitude of sites, and we're looking for the perpetrators. Of 9/11. We're looking at those who are intending to bring about a new world order, who underwrote Adolf Hitler. The Wyszynski trials exposed those who were what they, I guess, called Jews or Zionazis. And Stalin started killing them because he didn't trust them. But if it weren't for Trotsky and the Mensheviks, the Soviet Revolution would never have occurred. I ask you, and I can speak pretty much for us, to help us in our endeavor to enlighten the world, to in turn save it. But then, if you don't give a damn, shut the program off, don't come back. If you can't be involved in the program, at least get out of the way. This is Anthony J Hilder for Paradigm Shift. May God bless you and curse Satan.